March 10th, 2020, the Chains of Hate DLC released and the fog was forever changed. Zarina Kassir was here, and her perks were a big topic of discussion, mainly for the people, which was an instant success, and it's easy to see why. Who doesn't love an insta-heal? Fast forward to October 19th, 2021. Off the Record is buffed to become the single best anti-tunnel perk out there, eclipsing Decisive Strike with relative ease. 80 seconds of endurance after being unhooked is like the big brother to old Borrow time. Crazy strong, no downside. Since then, I've been silently waiting for her third and final perk, Red Herring, to get the same treatment. Well, I'm happy to say that day has finally come. Red Herring's back, baby! And in this video, you're gonna learn the tips and tricks to confuse killers like never before. Before we can talk about what fixes Red Herring, you all need to know exactly how it works. Red Herring activates after 3 consecutive seconds of repairing a generator, and lingers on that generator until it's completed, or you repair a different generator for another 3 consecutive seconds. After entering a locker, a loud noise is made for the killer at that generator, and the perk goes on cooldown for 40 seconds. When I originally wrote this script, the perk would reactivate on the generator so long as you didn't interact with a different one during the cooldown, but unfortunately, for all of us Red Herring enthusiasts, it was only a bug that's since been fixed. So that's Red Herring's description, and it seems pretty cut and dry. Otstarva has it ranked as one of the worst perks in the game, and if you take the perk at face value, it's not an unpopular opinion. However, read between the lines and you'll find there's more to this perk going on behind the scenes you need to know about. The only uncovering to do involves that little snag about working on it for 3 seconds consecutively. You might be able to see where I'm going with this, and yes, you can work on other gens while keeping Red Herring active on the generator of your choice by simply not working on it for 3 consecutive seconds. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, after 4 long years, tapping gens is officially back. Oh god, yeah. For anyone who started playing in or after 2020, you might have heard of Old Ruin. If you haven't, allow me to fill you in. Originally, Ruin used to change your skill checks while repairing generators into Ruin skill checks. Your options were to hit a good skill check, which would regress the generator by 3%, or you could hit a great skill check and avoid the regression, but also receive no bonus progress at all. It was all any killer ever used, and anybody who couldn't hit great skill checks, which was most people, myself included, had to tap the gen instead to avoid triggering any skill checks at all. It was just as ridiculous as it sounds. Thankfully, it was changed shortly before Red Herring was introduced, which is just crazy to think about, by the way. Old Ruin's been gone longer than Slinger's been in the fog. It doesn't sound right, but it is. Anyway, now that you know about the super secret tapping tech, let's get into the perk synergies that take it from just okay to genuinely worth using, and we'll finish it off with tips on how to use it better and get more consistent results from it. The biggest problem with Red Herring has always been that killers can just ignore it unintentionally. It's just a noise notification, so if the killer's preoccupied or just not paying attention, you're gonna get no value. Even if they see it, if there's no progress at all on that generator when they go to check it, they aren't gonna waste any more time looking around. What we need is something visual. Something that can force killers all the way to the generators even when nobody's actively working on it. Well, with the addition of the Dungeons & Dragons DLC, we got the perk Mirrored Illusion, and boy if that doesn't just solve the entire goddamn problem. A 120-second active timer casting a perfect illusion of yourself? Oh yeah, it's all coming together. By leaving an illusion on a generator and using Red Herring at a good time, the killer has to check it. Even if they've already fallen for an illusion earlier in the trial, seeing a survivor on a generator which just made a loud noise and not checking it is a gamble most killers are unlikely to make. Mirror Illusion also solves another problem with Red Herring, that being a lack of feedback. When you activate Red Herring, it goes on cooldown and gives no notification as to whether or not the killer actually fell for your trick. Mirrored Illusion, on the other hand, gets deactivated when the killer interacts with your clone, meaning now we finally have a way to know whether or not your trick worked without needing vision on that generator. Red Herring then returns the favor by covering its compatriot's biggest weakness as well. Mirrored Illusion isn't going to fool any killer that never sees it, so being able to bring attention to it from anywhere across the map is the perfect solution. So love it or hate it, Red Herring and Mirrored Illusion are a fantastic combo, almost symbiotic how they cover each other's weaknesses perfectly. But we all know it takes more than 2 perks for a build, so let's discuss some other synergies as well. If I miss anything, feel free to let me know down in the comments. My favorite perk to throw in this build may surprise you, or it may not, I don't know, I'm not a psychic Pokemon. Red Herring only activates upon entering a locker, so my brain immediately goes to the Ellen Ripley perk, Lucky Star. This is a perk I've wanted to talk about for a while because I didn't see many other creators talking about it. Admittedly, it's less useful now that Iron Will has re-entered the fray, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Lucky Star makes your grunts of pain silent for 10 seconds after entering a locker and shows you both the closest generator and all of your teammates' auras when you exit. It's genuinely one of the best solo queue perks in the game, and the only reason I didn't mention it on my video on that topic was because I knew I was going to talk about it at some point. When combined with Red Herring, you can make quick getaways anytime you lose line of sight with a killer. Having it activate on a generator nearby almost always gets you out of trouble, and it's easy to see why. From the killer's perspective, you lose vision of your target. You can't hear them anymore, but you see a loud noise on a generator nearby. 99% of the time, that's where you're going. If there happens to be an illusion on that generator, you can kiss that survivor you were chasing goodbye, because they're already on their way to the closest teammate. When used correctly, it's basically a get-out-of-jail-free card, but that's just my favorite option. Let's look at some others as well. Head-On and Blast Mine are the next two to come to mind. Both serve as another way of wasting the killer's time even further. Head-On covers you if the killer figures you out, and Blast Mine can either be used to defend the generator you're actually working on, or planted on the decoy generator in the hopes the killer kicks it while they're over there. It's worth noting that Blast Mine charges the same way Mirrored Illusion does by repairing 50% of a generator, so they synergize very well. Some other options would be Flashbang since you're in the locker anyways, Quick and Quiet to make those getaways even quicker. Inner Strength is amazing also because it heals you after spending 8 seconds in the locker, meaning with Lucky Star you'd be silent until you're fully healed. Diversion is another distraction perk that could do well in this build if Red Herring's notification goes unnoticed. Beyond that, anything that shows the auras of multiple generators can be very helpful for knowing where the decoy should be planted. Deja Vu's the sexy name here, but Rookie Spirit, Boon Illumination, Clairvoyance also work fine as well. But that's enough about synergies, because you can't just slap on 4 perks without changing your playstyle to match, so let's get into some small tips and tricks for maximum value. I'm gonna sound like a broken record if you've seen any of my other videos, but killers are always looking for something to do. If they're doing something already, they aren't looking for something else, so just wait until they aren't doing anything. It really is that simple. Of course it can work if you activate Red Herring while a teammate's in chase, but waiting until the chase ends instantly makes it more likely that the killer notices and investigates after hooking. Anytime nobody is in chase is also great, so pay attention to your teammates' icons to help sell it even further. If nobody's been in chase for about 15 seconds, then it's safe to assume the killer's not following anyone and actively looking for something to do. Send it. Which generator should you prioritize when setting up? Well, anything that pulls the killer away from everything else. Both edge map and second story building generators are great for luring the killer to it because it means they have that much further to travel, and wasting more of their time following your breadcrumbs is the end goal. Leaving your clone on the side they're most likely to get vision on first is also important. The second they catch a glimpse of your clone, their eyes will light up and nothing will be able to stop them from checking it out. That won't happen if your clone is hidden behind the gen. It's also noteworthy that using it early in the game isn't recommended. It's at its most valuable when you're down to the last 3 gens, so making sure you have Mirrored Illusion ready to use at that time is essential. Red Herring, on the other hand, only has a 30-second cooldown until it's ready to use again, so you might find some success using it a few times per trial. Keep in mind, however, the more you use it, the more chances the killer has to catch on. Most won't, but not all, and while fooling the ones that do is hilarious, it's also not going to happen very often. Full transparency, you might have to give it a couple games to find your rhythm with this build. You sort of have to play like a nomad, moving around from generator to generator, looking for the best place and waiting for the perfect time. I always say give it 3 games to adjust, but with this combo specifically, it might take more. That being said, it's worth the headache through the learning period because once you've figured it out, messing with killers has never been so fun. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. I've been doing weekly uploads for a few months now, and you could say I'm starting to get into a rhythm of my own. Click the video on the left to learn about my new favorite perk, Bardic Inspiration, or if you're more of a killer player, then check out the video on the right showing off a crazy strong perk combo for Hillbilly. Also, be sure to tune in every Tuesday over on Twitch, link in the description as always. But anyways guys, that is all for me. Until next time, take care out there in the fog.